Imagine if I told you that over 100 years ago, people believed they had discovered a way to create infinite power using nothing more than charcoal and copper wire. No, this isn't some wild internet conspiracy or a plot from a steampunk novel. This is a real story from the 1880s, a time when the world was obsessed with electricity and inventors were racing to light up the night. But what happened to this so-called infinite battery? Why did it disappear? And why, for a brief moment, did it seem like the world was on the edge of an energy revolution, only for it all to be quietly swept under the rug? Stick around, because today on Boring Economic Update, we're diving into the strange, forgotten history of the charcoal and copper wire battery, and why it was banned. Before we get into the details, if you're the kind of person who loves uncovering the weird, overlooked corners of economic history, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We dig up the stories that textbooks skip, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's set the scene. It's the 1880s. The world is changing fast. Cities are growing, factories are humming, and electricity is the new magic. Thomas Edison is showing off his light bulbs, Nikola Tesla is dreaming up alternating current, and everywhere you look, inventors are tinkering in their workshops, hoping to strike it rich with the next big thing. But there's a problem. Batteries. The batteries of the time are expensive, unreliable, and dangerous. They leak acid, they corrode, and they don't last long. If you wanted to power something, you needed a constant supply of fresh batteries, and that meant money. Lots of it. Enter the charcoal and copper wire battery. The idea was simple, almost too simple. Take a piece of charcoal, wrap it with copper wire, and submerge it in a saltwater solution. According to the stories, this setup could generate a small but steady electric current. Some claimed it would last for months, even years, without needing to be replaced. Others whispered that it could run forever as long as you kept the water topped up. It sounded too good to be true. And maybe it was. But for a brief moment, people believed. Newspapers ran stories about backyard inventors lighting up their homes with nothing but a handful of charcoal and some wire. Tinkerers wrote letters to scientific journals, describing their experiments and urging others to try it for themselves. There were even rumors that some small factories had switched over to these homemade batteries, cutting their costs and thumbing their noses at the big battery companies. So how did it work? The science behind it isn't as mysterious as it sounds. Charcoal is mostly carbon, and when you combine it with copper and salt water, you create a simple electrochemical cell. The salt water acts as an electrolyte, allowing ions to move between the charcoal and the copper. This movement of ions creates a flow of electrons, a tiny electric current. It's not enough to power a city, but it's enough to light a bulb, ring a bell, or run a telegraph. In a world where every bit of electricity was precious, this was a big deal. But here's where things get interesting. As word spread about the charcoal and copper wire battery, the established battery companies started to worry. They had invested millions in factories, patents, and supply chains. If anyone could make a battery in their kitchen, what would happen to their business? Some companies started running ads, warning about the dangers of homemade batteries. They claimed these devices were unreliable, even dangerous. There were stories of fires, explosions, and mysterious illnesses, all supposedly caused by these simple batteries. Whether any of these stories were true is hard to say, but the fear was real. At the same time, government regulators began to take notice. Electricity was still new, and there were no real rules about how it should be generated or used. Some officials worried that these homemade batteries could be used for mischief, powering illegal telegraphs, interfering with official communications, or even causing fires. In some cities, local ordinances were passed banning the use of unlicensed electrical devices. In others, police raided workshops and confiscated homemade batteries. The message was clear. Electricity was too important to be left in the hands of amateurs. But the real nail in the coffin came from the scientific community. As more people experimented with charcoal and copper wire batteries, it became clear that they weren't really infinite. The batteries worked, but their power faded over time. The charcoal would break down, the copper would corrode, and the salt water would become contaminated. Some batteries lasted for months, others for only a few days. The dream of infinite power was just that, a dream. But by then, the damage was done. The big battery companies had convinced the public that homemade batteries were dangerous. The government had passed laws making them illegal, and the scientific journals had moved on to more promising technologies. So, why does this story matter? Because it shows how technology, business, and government can come together to shape the future. The charcoal and copper wire battery was never going to change the world, but for a brief moment, it threatened the status quo. It gave ordinary people a taste of power, literally, and that was enough to scare the people in charge. But there's another layer to this story. Even though the charcoal and copper wire battery was banned and forgotten, the idea behind it never really went away. Every few years, someone rediscovers the concept and tries to bring it back. You'll find YouTube videos, blog posts, and even patents describing new versions of the same old idea. The dream of infinite power is hard to kill. And that brings us to a bigger question. Why are we so obsessed with the idea of free, unlimited energy? Is it just about saving money, or is there something deeper going on? Maybe it's about control. If you can make your own electricity, you're not dependent on anyone else. You're free. Or maybe it's about hope. The hope that somewhere out there, there's a simple solution to our biggest problems just waiting to be discovered. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The story of the charcoal and copper wire battery is a reminder that sometimes the simplest ideas can have the biggest impact, even if they don't work out the way we hope. And sometimes the real story isn't about the technology itself, but about the people who believe in it, fight for it, and in the end, let it go. So what happened to the inventors who championed the charcoal and copper wire battery? Some faded into obscurity, their names lost to history. Others moved on to new projects, chasing the next big idea. And a few became cautionary tales, held up as examples of what happens when you challenge the system. We'll look at how this simple battery inspired a new generation of inventors, and why the fight for free energy is far from over. As the 20th century dawned, the world's appetite for electricity only grew. Cities buzzed with new inventions, and the promise of a brighter, more connected future was everywhere. But in the shadows of this progress, the story of the charcoal and copper wire battery lingered. It became a kind of urban legend among inventors and tinkerers, a symbol of what might have been, and a quiet protest against the growing power of big business and government regulation. In the early 1900s, a new generation of inventors began to revisit the old idea. Some were inspired by stories passed down from their parents or grandparents. Others stumbled across faded newspaper clippings or dusty notebooks in secondhand shops. The instructions were always the same: charcoal, copper wire, salt water. Simple, cheap, and, if the stories were true, capable of producing electricity with almost no cost. For young inventors, especially those without access to expensive equipment, the charcoal battery was a gateway into the world of science. It was a project you could build in your backyard, a way to light a bulb or power a radio without asking anyone's permission. But as these new experiments began, the same old problems reappeared. The batteries worked, but not for long. The current was weak, and the components wore out quickly. Some inventors tried to improve the design using purer charcoal, thicker copper wire, or different electrolytes. A few even claimed to have cracked the code, boasting of batteries that lasted for years. But when scientists tried to replicate these results, they usually found the same limitations. The laws of chemistry hadn't changed. The dream of infinite power remained just out of reach. Still, the legend of the charcoal and copper wire battery refused to die. In the 1920s and 30s, as the world plunged into economic depression, the idea found new life. People were desperate for cheap energy, and the promise of a homemade battery was too tempting to ignore. Magazines and radio shows ran stories about miracle batteries and free energy machines. Some were outright scams, selling kits that promised the world and delivered little more than disappointment. But others were sincere attempts to solve real problems, driven by hope and necessity. During World War II, when resources were scarce and rationing was the norm, the charcoal battery made yet another comeback. Soldiers and civilians alike experimented with makeshift batteries to power radios, flashlights, and other essential devices. In some cases, these simple batteries made a real difference, providing a lifeline when commercial batteries were unavailable. But even then, the limitations were clear. The batteries were unreliable and their power faded quickly. The dream of infinite energy was as elusive as ever. After the war, as economies recovered and technology advanced, the charcoal and copper wire battery faded into obscurity once again. New battery technologies emerged: alkaline, nickel-cadmium, and eventually lithium-ion. These new batteries were more powerful, more reliable, and, most importantly, backed by big companies with the resources to mass-produce them. The homemade battery became a relic, a curiosity for science fairs and hobbyists. But the story doesn't end there. In the 1970s, as the world faced an energy crisis, the idea of free, homemade power resurfaced. People were worried about oil shortages, rising prices, and the environmental impact of fossil fuels. Once again, inventors and dreamers dusted off the old plans for charcoal and copper wire batteries. Some saw it as a way to stick it to the big energy companies. Others simply wanted a backup plan in case the lights went out. The results were the same as before: some success, lots of disappointment, and a renewed sense of frustration with the limits of technology. What's fascinating is how the charcoal and copper wire battery became a kind of symbol, a stand-in for all the simple, overlooked solutions that might be hiding in plain sight. It's easy to see why people kept coming back to it. But there's another side to this story. As the legend of the charcoal battery grew, so did the myths and misunderstandings. Some people began to believe that the battery had been deliberately suppressed by powerful interests: energy companies, governments, even secret societies. Still, the idea of a banned battery, a technology so powerful it had to be hidden away, was too good to resist. Over the years, the story took on a life of its own. It became a favorite topic for conspiracy theorists and alternative energy enthusiasts. Some claimed to have uncovered secret documents proving that the battery had been suppressed. Others insisted that they had built working models, only to have them stolen or destroyed by mysterious agents. The internet, of course, only made things worse. Forums and YouTube channels popped up, each with their own take on the story. Some were sincere, others were just looking for clicks. But all of them tapped into the same deep well of curiosity and hope. And that brings us to today. If you search online, you'll still find people experimenting with charcoal and copper wire batteries. Some are hobbyists, curious about the science. Others are true believers, convinced that the secret to infinite power is just around the corner. There are even a few who claim to have improved the design, using modern materials and techniques. But the basic story remains the same, a simple idea, endlessly repeated, always just out of reach. So why does this story keep coming back? Maybe it's because we want to believe that the world is full of simple solutions, waiting to be discovered. Maybe it's because we're frustrated with the complexity and cost of modern technology. Or maybe it's just because the idea of free energy is so powerful, so seductive that we can't let it go. But there's something else at work here too. The story of the charcoal and copper wire battery is a reminder that progress isn't always about finding the next big thing. Sometimes it's about revisiting old ideas, testing them, and learning from our failures. It's about curiosity, persistence, and the willingness to ask, what if, even when the answer isn't what we hoped. And in a way, that's what makes the story so compelling. It's not just about a battery. It's about the people who believed in it, the inventors, the tinkerers, the dreamers. It's about the hope that we can take control of our own destiny, even if just for a moment. And it's about the realization that sometimes the simplest ideas are the hardest to let go. As we look back on the history of the charcoal and copper wire battery, it's easy to laugh at the optimism of those early inventors, but maybe we shouldn't. After all, every great breakthrough starts with someone asking a simple question. What if this could work? And while the charcoal battery never delivered on its promise, it inspired generations of people to keep asking, keep experimenting, and keep dreaming. Now we'll explore what this all means for the future. Is there still a place for simple, homemade solutions in a world dominated by high-tech gadgets and global corporations? And what can we learn from the rise and fall of the charcoal and copper wire battery as we search for new ways to power our lives? So, what does the story of the charcoal and copper wire battery really tell us about our relationship with technology, power, and progress? It's tempting to see it as just a quirky footnote in the long history of electricity, a failed experiment, a curiosity for science fairs and conspiracy forums. But if you look closer, there's something deeper going on. The charcoal battery is a mirror, reflecting our hopes, our frustrations, and our endless search for control over the world around us. Think about it. Every time the world faces a crisis, whether it's an economic depression, a war, or an energy shortage, people start looking for simple homemade solutions. The charcoal and copper wire battery keeps coming back, not because it works better than modern batteries, but because it represents the idea that anyone, anywhere, can take charge of their own energy. It's a symbol of independence, of not having to rely on big companies or distant governments. In a world that often feels overwhelming and out of reach, that's a powerful idea. But the story is also a warning. It shows us how easy it is to get swept up in the promise of a miracle solution, to believe that there's a secret technology out there that will solve all our problems if only we can find it. The truth is, real progress is almost always slow, messy, and full of setbacks. The charcoal battery didn't fail because of a conspiracy. It failed because the science just wasn't there. But that doesn't mean the people who believed in it were foolish. They were curious, creative, and determined, qualities that have driven every major breakthrough in history. And maybe that's the real lesson here. The world needs dreamers and tinkerers. We need people who are willing to ask what if, and to try things that everyone else says are impossible. Most of the time, those experiments won't change the world. But sometimes they do. And even when they don't, they push us to think differently, to question the status quo, and to keep searching for better answers. Today, we're facing new challenges: climate change, rising energy costs, and a growing demand for clean, reliable power. The solutions we need are probably going to be more complicated than charcoal and copper wire. But the spirit behind those old experiments is still alive. You see it in the rise of solar panels on rooftops, in the push for community microgrids, and in the growing movement for energy independence. People still want to take control of their own power, to find ways to live more sustainably and more freely.